Good day everyone, I am Alan Musugan from the TE Edison, and today we are going to discuss you about and show you how Rizal became Calamba and Binyan in his early education and his happy days at UST. So now, let's start our discussion. Early education in Calamba and Binyan. The first teacher of Rizal was his mother, named Doña Teodora Alonza Villalona. She was fine, cultured, and a remarkable woman of good character. His first tutor is Maestro Celestino, and his second private tutor is Maestro Lucas Padua. Leon Monroy is a former classmate of Rizal's father. Is on Sunday afternoon in June 1869, Rizal left Calamba after Tubingan accompanied by Pasiano. Next is Maestro Astiniano Aquina Cruz, a Rizal's teacher in private school. He described him as a thin, uh, long neck, sharp nose, and the body slightly bent forward. Pedro, the teacher's son which Rizal challenged to a fight. Next is Andres Salandanan, challenged Rizal to an arm wrestling. Juancho, an old painter, father-in-law of the school teacher, and the person who taught Rizal freely lesson in painting and drawing. Next is Jose Guevara, Rizal classmate and who also loves painting and apprenticed by Juancho. And known, he is the favorite in the class because of his artistic talent. On Christmas in 1870, Rizal received a letter from his sister named Saturnina, informing him the arrival of steamer Tallinn, which would take him from Binyan to Calamba. On Saturday afternoon, December 17, 1870, Rizal left Binyan after 1 year and a half of schooling. And the last is Arturo Combs, Frenchman, friend of Rizal's father, who took care of him on board. Rizal's daily life in Binyan. At 4 o'clock is Mass, then 10 o'clock went home at once, and at 2 o'clock went school and came out at 5 o'clock. Next is the martyrdom of Gomburza. Night of January 20, 1872, about 200 Filipino soldiers and workmen of the Cavite arsenal under the leadership of La Madrid, Filipino sergeant, rose in violent mutiny because of the abolition of their usual privileges. Father Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora were executed at sunrise in February 17, 1872, by the order of the Governor-General Izquierdo. The martyrdom of Gomburza in 1872, which was inspired to fight the evil Spanish tyranny and to redeem his oppressed people. Rizal dedicated his second novel, El Tigre, to the Gomburza, in justice to hero's mother. Before June 1872, Doña Teodora and her brother Jose Alberto was suddenly arrested by a malicious charge that they tried to poison the latter's perfidious wife. Antonio Vivencio de Rosario, Calamba Gobernadorcillo, helped arrest Doña Teodora. After arresting her mother, she was forced to walk 50 kilometers from Calamba to Santa Cruz by the sadistic Spanish lieutenant. Doña Teodora was imprisoned at the provincial prison where she languished for 2 years and a half. Messrs. Francisco de Marcaida and Manuel Marzan, famous lawyers of Manila who defend Doña Teodora. Scholastic triumphs at Ateneo de Manila on 1872 to 1877. Ateneo Municipal, a college under the supervision of the Spanish Jesuits. Escuela Pia or Charity School, former name of Ateneo. School for boys, established by the city government, 1870. June 10, 1872, Rizal accompanied by Pasiano to went Manila. Father Magin Ferrando, the college registrar, who refused to admit Rizal in Ateneo for two reasons. First, he was late registration. Second, he was sickly and undersized for his age. Manuel Sarx Burgos. Because of his intercession, nephew of Father Burgos, Rizal was reluctantly admitted at Ateneo. Jose, who was the first of his family, adopted the surname. He registered that name in Ateneo instead of Mercado because of under suspicion by the Spanish authorities. Rizal was first boarded in the house outside Intramuros on Caraballo Street, owned by a spinster named Pipay, who owed Rizal's family the amount of 300 pesos.
Hi, my name is Janine Abadilla. My report is Jesuit System of Education. It trained the characteristic of student on grind, disciplines, and religious instruction. Students are divided into two groups, Roman Empire and Carthaginian Empire. Roman Empire consisting of the internos or borders or red banners, and Carthaginian Empire consists externos or non-borders or blue banners. Emperor is the best student, Tribune is the second best, Decurion is the third best, and Centurion is the fourth best, and Standbearer is the fifth best. The Ateneo student in Rizal time wear a uniform in hep fabric trouser and striped cotton coat, and the coat materials called rayadillo. And so, ang 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 justice system ay tinitrain nila ang pag-uugali ng estudyante or discipline na maging makatao or matulungin or maging religious person. Ang estudyante ay nadi-divide sa dalawa, ang Roman Empire and Carthaginian Empire. At ang ranking naman ng student is, the best student is called Emperor, and the second best is Tribune, and the third best Decurion, and the fourth best called Centurion, and the fifth best called the Stand Bearer. First year in Ateneo, 1872 to 1873. Father Jose Bench, Rizal first professor in Ateneo, would describe as an tall thin man with a body slightly bent forward and hairy walk, an aesthetic face, serve and inspire and smell deep sunken eyes, a sharp nose that was almost erect and thin lips forming an ARC who and feel forward to the chin. A religious picture, Rizal first prize for being a brightest pupil in a whole class. To improve his Spanish, Rizal took a private lesson in Santa Isabel College. During the noon recess, he paid 3 pesos for those extra Spanish lessons. At the end of school year, in March in 1873, Rizal returned to Calamba from summer vacation. When the summer vacations and Rizal returned to Manila for his second year term in Ateneo. These times, he boarded inside Intramuros at number 6 Magallanes Street. His landlady was an old widow named Doña Pepay. Best professor of Rizal is in Ateneo is Father Jose, and Rizal is the best pupils in Ateneo in a whole class. And Rizal pay 3 pesos for extra lesson for Spanish lesson. Second year in Ateneo in 1873 to 1874. At the end of school years, Rizal received excellent grades in all subjects and a gold medal. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, the first favorite novel of Rizal which made a deep impression on him. Universal History by Cesar Cantu. Rizal pursued his father to buy him a set of historical works that was a great aid in his study. Dr. Fredo Hagor, a German scientist traveler who visited the Philippines in 1859 to 1860, who write travels in the Philippines. Rizal received was impressed a book because of Hagor's observed of the defeats of Spain colonization, his prophecy that someday Spain would be loose, the Philippines and the American would come to succeed her as colonizer. At the end, matapos ang school year, si Rizal ay nakatanggap ng matataas na grado sa lahat ng subject at binigyan siya ng gold medal for excellence. And ang favorite novel ni Rizal ay ang The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. And Rizal, pinilit niya ang kanyang tatay, nabilhan siya ng novel na titled Universal History by Cesar Cantu para makuha siya ng study or makatulong sa kanyang pag-aaral ang itong historical novel. And si Dr. Hagor naman ay nakatulong sa kanya ang novel nito dahil para makita niya ang kahinatnan or ang mangyayari sa Spanish or sa Philippines, at gusto ni Rizal na matalo ang Spanish para manalo ang Amerika at Philippines sa colonization.
Hi, I am Chan Benedict P. Barbosa from PIT 2E FSMB, and we were talking about the third, the fourth, and the last year of Rizal in Ateneo, and also the anecdotes on Rizal. In his third year in Ateneo, he wasn't too satisfied in his performance but he still received a reward in Latin and still maintained his excellence in class. Rizal's most fruitful year was his fourth year of schooling. He became an intern of Ateneo, meaning he stayed inside the campus, which enabled him to concentrate more on his studies. He met also a professor named Father Francisco Paula Sanchez, who inspired him to study harder and write poetry. At the end of the year, he brought home 5 medals and excellent ratings. The last year of Rizal in Ateneo, he received the highest honor in their graduation and was truly the pride of the Jesuit. On March 23, 1877, Rizal recognized as the greatest alumnus of Ateneo de Manila University with a degree of Bachelor of Arts. Rizal was an active member and he became an secretary of a religious society called Miriam Congregation. Father Sanchez, a great educator and a scholar, helped Rizal to maximize his talent in literary such as writing. Father Jose Villachara instructed Rizal to focus in science and philosophy. Rizal studied painting and also sculpture under Agustin Saez and Remuldo de Jesus. This is the image of Virgin Mary, a very own carve of Rizal on a baticuling wood, a tree that mostly found in Quezon province. Father Leonard requested Rizal to carve the image of Sacred Heart of Jesus because he was impressed by Rizal's capability in carving. Anecdotes of Rizal the Athenian. The anecdote of Felix M. Rojas on Rizal, neither bitterness nor rancor towards the guilty party, was about the incident from Rizal's Ateneo days that reveals the hero's acceptance of pain and forgiveness. The anecdote of Manuel Cerex Burgos was about Rizal's predilection or the love to help the helpless people even in the exchange of life.
I'm Patricia Rebecca Mias Kalimlim, and my topic is about the poems written in Ateneo. Doña Teodora was the first one who discovered the poetic genius of her son. And also, she is the first one to encourage Rizal to write poems. However, Father Sanchez inspired Rizal to use his God-given gifts in poetry. His first poem is Mi Primera Inspiración, or My First Inspiration, in 1874. He probably wrote it during his days in Ateneo, and he dedicated it to his mother for her birthday. And Rizal is around 14 years old when he wrote his first poem. Father Sanchez inspired more Rizal to write poems in 1875. Here is the 4 poems that Rizal wrote in 1875. Felicitazioni, El Embarque, Himno a la Flota de Magallanes, or The Departure, Hymn to Magallanes Fleet. Es Español, El Cano, El Primero en dar la Vuelta al Mundo, or the first to navigate or circumnavigate the world. The last one is El Combate or Bistondo, Terror de Jolo, or the Terror of Jolo. In 1876, Rizal wrote poems in various topics, which is religious, education, childhood, memories, and war. And here is the 5 poems that he wrote. First is Un Recuerdo a mi Pueblo, or In Memory of My Town. Rizal wrote it for his hometown in Calamba. The second one is Alianza Íntima entre la Religión y la Buena Educación, or Intimate Alliance between Religion and Good Education. Rizal dedicated it that the religion is important in education. Is Por la Educación recibe lustra la patria, or through education, the country receives light. Rizal's believe that education plays in the progress of the welfare of a nation. For the fourth one, El Cautiverio y El Triunfo, Batalla de Lucena y Prisión de Boabdil, or the captivity and the triumph, Battle of Lucena and the imprisonment of Boabdil. The poem describes the defeat and the capture of Boabdil. He is the last Moorish Sultan of Granada. For the last one, La Entrada Triunfal de los Reyes Catolices en Granada, or the triumphal entry of the Catholic monarchs into Granada. It relates the victorious entry of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel into Granada.
I am Calandria Michelle Beyonce A. Cruz from the section BIT2 FSMB. The continuation of poems written by Rizal in Ateneo. A year later, in 1877, Rizal wrote more poems It was his last years in Ateneo. Among the poems written that year were El Heroismo de Colon, also called as The Heroism of Columbus. This poem praises Columbus, the discoverer of America. Jose Rizal wrote this epic poem in December 1877 during his academic years in Ateneo Municipal de Manila. Colon E1 II, also called as Columbus and John II. This poem relates how King Con II of Portugal missed fame and riches by his failure to finance the projected expedition of Columbus to the New World, also described as lira, or the monetary unit of Spaniards that time, meaning pounds. Gran Consuelo en la Mayor Desdicha, also called as Great Solace in Great Misfortune. This is a legend in verse of the tragic life of Columbus. He wrote this poem as a challenge to himself to hone and master his craft in Spaniard poetry, trying all meters and form of poetry. Un diálogo al aviso a la despedida del colegial, also called as a farewell dialogue of the students. This was the last poem written by Rizal in Ateneo. It is a poignant poem of farewell to his classmate. It was written just before he graduated from the Ateneo. Al Niño Jesus, also called as To the Child Jesus. This poem was written in 1875 when Rizal was 14 years old. It was a brief religious ode which expressed his devotion as a child to the Catholicism. A la Virgen Maria, also called as To the Virgin Mary. Another religious poem which doesn't have exact date when it was written. This undated poem was writing of Jose Rizal, wrote in praise of the Virgin Mary, the Mother of Jesus Christ, written as a personification of love and how it keeps us out of the anger, seas, and fears of death. According to Rizal, sometimes the things that bother us most of the time are the path to our liberation and awakening. Gratitude for whatever we have is a powerful prayer or calling. San Eustacio, Martyr, also called as Saint Eustace the Martyr, a drama based on the prose story of Saint Eustace which he wrote in poetic verses during the summer vacation of 1876 and finished it on June 2, 1876.
Medical studies at the University of Santo Tomas on 1877 to 1882. After finishing the first year of a course, Philosophy and Letters, on 1877 to 1882, Rizal transferred to the medical course. On 1877 to 1878, Rizal studied cosmology, metaphysics, theodicy, and history of philosophy during his first year term. After finishing philosophy course, Rizal took up medical course upon the advice of Ateneo's rector to study medicine, and the reason of it is to be able to cure his mother's growing blindness. What did Rizal do in 1877? He obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree with the highest honors in 1877. For a time he studied at the University of Santo Tomas, and in 1882 he left for Spain to enter the Central University of Madrid, where he completed his medical and humanistic studies. Who is Father Pablo Ramon in the life of Rizal? Father Pablo Ramon is the rector of the Ateneo who have been good to Rizal during his student days in that college. He is also the one who asked and advised by Rizal on the choice of his career. On November 25, 1881, at the age of 17, the title was issued to Rizal for passing the final examination in the surveying course. Liceo Artístico Literario or Artistic Literary Lyceum of Manila is a society of literary men and artists. It's also held a literary contest in the year 1879. The poem A la Juventud Filipina, or To the Filipino Youth, by Dr. Jose Rizal. It is a message primarily to tell the importance of one's love and appreciation in his dialect or language, for it is the bridge and intermediary connecting people's country to each other. In the poem, Rizal praised the rising generation.
Ang lupon ng mga hukom na binubuo ng mga Kastila ay humanga sa tula ni Rizal at binigyan ito ng unang gantimpala na binubuo ng pilak na panulat. Ito ay hugis balahibo at pinalamutian ng gintong laso. El Consejo de los Dioses, o kilala sa tawag na The Council of the Gods, isang allegorical na tula na isinulat ni Rizal na kanyang sinali sa Patimpalak, Pampanitikan ng Artistic Literary Lyceum noong 1880 upang gunitain ang ika-4 na sentenaryo ng ang pagkamatay ni Cervantes. Ito ay isang obra maestra sa panitikan batay sa mga klasikong Griego. Ang premyong iginawad kay Rizal ay isang gintong singsing kung saan nakaukit ang dibdib ni Cervantes. D.N. del Puzo, isang Espanyol na manunulat na nanalo ng ikalawang gantimpala. Junto al Pasig, o mas kilala sa tawag na Beside the Pasig, isang sarswela na tinanghal ng mga Atinin noong Disyembre 8, 1880 sa okasyon ng taunang pagdiriwang ng Feast Day of the Immaculate Conception, Patroness of the Ateneo. Isinulat ito ni Rizal bilang Pangulo ng Academy of Spanish Literature sa Ateneo. Isang Pilipinas, isang soneto na isinulat ni Rizal para sa album ng Society of Sculptors. Sa sonetong ito, hinihimok niya ang lahat ng mga artistang Pilipino upang luwalhatian ang Pilipinas. A.B.D.L. Aziz Y. Mahoma, gumawa si Rizal ng isang tula noong 1879 kung saan idineklara ni Manuel ang isang Atinin Fernandez noong gabi ng Disyembre 8, 1879 bilang parangal sa patronis ng Ateneo. Al-MRP Pablo Ramon, gumawa si Rizal ng tula noong 1881 bilang pagpapahayag ng pagmamahal kay Padre Pablo Ramon, ang Ateneo Rector na naging napakabait at matulungin sa kanya. Vicenta Ibardulaza, isang magandang kolehiyala na mahusay tumugtog ng alpa sa tahanang regalado na nahilig si Rizal sa pakil. Binanggit ni Rizal ang tarumban kung saan ang mga tao ay sumayaw sa mga lansangan sa panahon ng prosesyon bilang parangal sa Mahimalang Birheng Maria de los Dolores sa Kabanata 6 ng Lolimi Tahire at pagsanhan Paul sa kanyang talaarawan sa paglalakbay sa Estados Unidos Sabado ng Mayo 12, 1888, kung saan sinabi niya na ang Niagara Falls ang pinakamalaking cascades I ever saw hindi gaano kaganda o kasing ganda ng falls ng Los Baños pagsanhan. Kompanyarismo o commandership, itinatag ni Rizal ang isang lihim na samahan ng mga estudyanteng Pilipino sa Universidad ng Santo Tomas noong 1880. Mga kasamahan ni Jeyo, mga miyembro ng lipunan na kasunod ng magiting na general na Hebreo. Ang pinsan ni Galicano Apasible, Rizal mula sa Batangas na kalihim ng lipunan. Unhappy Days at the UST, nasumpungan ni Rizal ang kapaligiran ng Universidad ng Santo Tomas na sumasakal sa kanyang sensitibong diwa. Hindi siya nasisiyahan dito, Dominikadong institusyon ng mas matataas na pag-aaral dahil ang mga profesor ng Dominikano ay galit sa kanya at ang mga estudyante Pilipino ay diskriminasyon laban sa lahi ng mga Kastila. Ang paraan ng pagtuturo ay lipas na at mapanupil sa nobela ni Rizal na El Filibusterismo. Inilarawan niya ang kung paano pinahiya at ininsulto ang mga estudyante Pilipino sa kanilang Dominican professor at kung gaano katrasado ang paraan ng pagtuturo, lalo sa nasa pagtuturo ng natural sciences. Isinalaysay niya sa Kabanata 13 ang klase ng